Xueli and 5G ACIA. Dr. Xueli is the vice chair of the working group use cases and requirements of the 5G ACIA and the head of the 6th Network Architecture Research Group at Huawei. We're honored to have Dr. Xueli to give the speech. Please.
Okay, thank you, Xueli's introduction, and also thank you, Richard, to really warm up this space. I see there are a lot of critical questions from the technical side and also business side. So I think this is really the beauty of GTI to get all these experts here, so that we can discuss about the trendy topic. So 5G ACIA, so this is a journey. Actually, I always show when I come to the presentation because I think this is really indicate how this industrial 5G begins and where it leads to. So for example, from Europe, especially Europe perspective, the research already began in 2012. So this was funded by the European Commission. And then over the years, so for example, the first discussion under Z4EI. So Z4EI actually is the mother organization on top of 5G ACI. So they have this 5G task to say, all these vertical players, now that we have a new technology and we should be part of it, and what we can do. So actually this was really the initial discussion happens in 2017, and then afterwards 5G ACIA was born. I will not bore you because this is really a mix of 3GPP standardization. So I see some question because if we talk about 5G, 3GPP is really the platform we define the technology. And then you can also see, being different from MWC, the major industry platform we use to discuss industrial 5G is this Hanover method. So this is one of the biggest vertical expansions. So every year we have a very important 5G arena show there. So also this year it will be April. I just discussed with some colleagues, and then we are really welcome you if you by any chance you will drop by Hanover Mesa, and then we could discuss about the industrial 5G together. And then, but today, when I talk about this figure, I have a new thinking because actually we are in a kind of like a transition phase from 5G to 6G. So actually this map we draw here can give a really good reflection that what we can do for the 6G, if this is our example. We know we have a lot of things we did really successful and some things we are not very successful, and what are the lessons we could learn from this journey and then we could take from the original part. So just for your information, from the European Commission side, the first what we call SNS JU 6G projects already kick off last year. So we are more or less like 10 years after the first point. So I think this is a really good timing to discuss like what we may do in future. So 5G ACI, at the beginning we have 26 members, and then till now we also involved to almost 100 members. So this really includes all the key vertical partners and then also the leaders in the field and the same as the ICT side. So we do have the vision, like we want to really play as a bridge to bring the OT and ICT players together and then to have a platform to discuss about what is the industry use cases and requirement and how can we really land this in the 3GPP. And 5G side, we have a really clear focus. So we do 5G for the industry 4.0. But then in order to make this really happen, the collaboration is very important. So this is our global view about all the organizations that we work with. So of course, including GSMA, including GTI. So we have a lot of MOU partnership worldwide. So in this way, we want to contribute to the entire industrial 5G ecosystem. And talking about 3GPP, I think the most difficult part is to, if you want to develop a new market, you want to develop a new customer group, and how do you let them to be relevant to 3GPP? I think this was one of the most successful case 5G ACI was doing. This is the journey we did, so especially on the black box. So this actually is the key use case and requirement discussed under 3GPP, and many of the use cases actually coming from the 5G ACI members. So basically from very beginning, we are in this journey of 3GPP, and then try to shape this use case and the discussion via the different release. I think this is not easy because if you can really gather all these partners who are not even the 3GPP member, and then you aggregate their voice and bring to 3GPP, I think this is the first lesson we learned. Like if you want to target a new market, then you need to really hold the hands of your customers and tell them what you need to do in 3GPP. Otherwise, your use cases and requirement cannot be handled, and then there will be no features to support your market. Then over the years, as you see, like this is just a really short summary about what has been included in this 3GPP journey. So at the very beginning, like we talk about the URLC, I think this is one of the key pillars for the whole 5G vision. And then we discuss about like what would be the key features and what would be the numbers. So I think a lot of people heard about like 20 milliseconds, 10 milliseconds, or even 1 millisecond. Actually, all these numbers, we have a really heated discussion why we needed it and how do you really argue this would be the number that the 3GPP has to be implemented. So then the same for the other features. So later on, we evolved to the TSN, and then also this NPN concept, the non-public network, is also the first originally coming from 5G ACIA. So I think all these topics actually gave a big influence to 3GPP to say how the 5G technology should be shaped in order to support these vertical sectors like industrial automation. And then we come to the release 17, we try to resolve the scalability, and then release 18, there are more like use cases like AR, XR, so then we talk about the industrial metaverse and so on. So as I mentioned, like this year, especially this year, it will be a very interesting timeline for 5G and 6G transition, because on the left side, so this figure was coming from ITU, and this is the first exercise we did within 5G ACIA is we talk with all our OT partners and say, come to bring your use cases, and then we did a mapping one-to-one to this figure. So then to see how this OT use cases to match the ITU vision. So this is the first exercise we did, and we published our first white paper. And last year, ITU just announced this is the right figure, the 6G vision. So being different from the left one, so you have the URLC, you have the machine type of communication, you have the enhanced mobile broadband, and then you have ASIC, integrated communication and sensing, and then you have the native AI. So it means when your capability dimension becomes much more powerful, right? Like that, it means you have more space to create the new use cases and the requirement. So I think this would be the place where 5G ACIA will continue to play their role on this aspect. And this is also a recent exercise, like we discussed within 5G ACIA, because I think some of you may know, like in May this year, there will be the first 3GPP workshop on the IMT 2030 vision. So in this workshop, the 3GPP will invite all the relevant verticals, organizations to come to say, let's begin to discuss what are your lessons learned from 5G and what we can do on the 6G together. So this year, May will be the first workshop. And then within 5G ACIA, we also prepare our thought. Of course, like I cannot review more because this is still under discussion, but some key messages this one. So these are the three example use cases we discuss a lot, like flexible assembly area and also the industrial automations and then this flexible manufacturing. So these are the future use cases visions brought really by the OT partners. So this is not the imagination from the ICT side. And one of the key message, actually our partner, they want to give to 3GPP is they say, we already discussed a lot of industrial 5G use cases. Please do not forget of them, because we don't want to bring in everything from scratch, because we want to continue run this use case from 5G until 6G and then even further. So I think this is one of the key messages. So I think the OT, they have a totally different innovation cycle. They also have a totally different life cycle of technology and deployment and so on. I think this is something we tend to ignore in 5G, because if we come to the mobile communication side, we have a 10-year cycle. From research to standardization to the production to the deployment, this is 10 years. But you know, in the OT side, it could be 30 years or sometimes 50 years. And how do you really match their expectation to our innovation speed? I think one of the questions they ask, like, is this, what is the challenge? I think this is a challenge. If you don't have the same expectations, then how do you really expect they buy your products, right? I talked to some OT partners. They say, "Oh, we have a really good progress. We are testing release 15 stuff." I say, "Oh, by the way, now the standardization goes to release 19." So they say, "What? Like, what should I do with 16, 17, and 18?" Right? Like this is just different mentalities. I think this is something we need to discuss how to resolve. About the use case and the requirement, this is also one of the exercises we did in 5G ACIA. So in 3GPP, we tend to discuss about the performance KPIs, like then because this is translated to the radio, how much resource spectrum you have, right? What is the packet loss? But this is not the whole picture. In 5G ACIA, we also talk about the functional requirement. So that's why we come to the NPN, like non-public network, right? You need to have a certain feature to support them, not only the performance. And then we also have the operational. So this is also important. So for example, we are talking about the industries like they have a critical business. Like for example, if you go to some car production lines, if you say, "Oh, my network is down for 5 minutes," maybe they say, "I lost 2 million euro. Who will pay me back on this?" And yeah, so this is the penalty. This is SLA. Is this clear for everyone to say we can have a clear definition on this to support the business? I think the answer is still no. Okay, so then we need to keep this in mind. Performance, functional, operational. So all these three layers are very important. But we come to the performance. I think this is, I don't want to bore you with the details, but this is also something landed in the 3GPP. Because when we talk about latencies, actually it's not clear. Because OT side, I want 1 millisecond. What does this really mean? From where to is 1 millisecond? And then if I break down this number to the radio side, is this 0.5 or 0.2, right? And then what is the survival time? So this is the terms about the latencies. Actually, they use a lot in the OT, but then we don't have any clue how to map it back. So along this journey, actually, I can tell you, you think you understand, but it's still not. So because in 5G ACIA, we have a latestly very new work item is to re-clarify latency. It sounds very simple things, but it's not. Because they argue like, if you talk about the communication latency, which interface it should be, right? Like, because that is also give a different indication. Okay, so SLA I already talked about. So this is something we also do. Because of time limitation, I will not go to the detail. As I mentioned, this is very important for the business. If you go to deployment, you don't have a clear SLA, then actually there is no business case. About what's new. So in this year, we will have a new topic, actually a new white paper will publish in the Hannover Messe. So this is about the OPCUA and 5G integration. I think this is a very important aspect. So not say like only OPCUA, we want to emphasize the industrial domain technology integration with 5G. This is important. And then we take the OPCUA as one example. So then in our organization, we also have like a TSN with 5G integration and then some other DataNet, many similar topic. But this is one of the latest topic we will wrap up and then announce in the Hannover Messe. So on the right side, like if you can, I don't know if you can see it clearly. So you see a lot of boxes. So this box actually are the industrial controller from our OT side. So basically, we also have a webinar and show a demo. Like if you want to consider use the 5G to connect, for example, the industrial controller from Bosch to Siemens, how does this work? So basically, this white paper tells the story. Like you have the 5G standardization, and then you have the industrial communication technology. How to bring these two things together, and what are the missing points? And testbed, like we have a lot of testbed. And because this is the only way to really test your use cases. But from the testbed to the production, still this is, I think, a long way. But from 5G ACIA, I think our main mission is to give the confidence to the OT partner to say, like, if you tell us the use cases you have, and then we can utilize our partner resource, then we can do something together. The industrial 5G device, this is also important aspect. Because when we talk about industrial 5G ecosystem, people tend to only refer to the private network, right? Like you talk about network, but you never talk about the device. So this is the collection from the device type from our members. So as you can see, like if you go to different sectors, you have a totally different type of 5G device. You cannot imagine or just assume like all your devices simply connected to a CPE. That doesn't work in the reality. So then the question is, when you have so many different type of devices, and then how do you really have this to be 5G, industrial 5G device? You have the chipset, or you use the CPE, or what would be the solution for this, right? So I think this is still one question we need to think a lot, because without the device, you don't have the whole business. And then this is actually a kind of like lessons learned we have, because we all know actually this private 5G topic was a really popular, really popular actually a couple of years ago. Actually, at this moment, we experience something difficult, especially in Europe. Like we have a lot of POCs, we have a spectrum allocated, but we don't see business case. I think this is actually something we need to overcome. But we don't see this as a showstopper, because we also analyze like what is the reason why this business case is still not happening, right? Some reasons, as I said, like the whole ecosystem is not ready, like you don't have the industrial 5G device, and then something because like you have a lot of features defined in 3GPP, but it's not landed in the products. So we need to like really think about the whole logic as research, innovation, standardization, and the product, and then deployment. So I think at this moment, 3GPP already defined a lot of features, but only when we have requirement, demands, then it will be landed in the products. I think that is something we should think about all together as an organization to see how can we really close the gap for this. Okay, so this is a series of publications. I think one of the colleagues asked about 5G settling. So this is one of the latest white paper we have, and security as well. And this is like all the technical directions that we try to get a clear statement. This is really represent the opinion from 5G settling. And about this year's major meeting, because 5G ACIA now is a global organization, like we host the plenary meetings globally. So our next meeting in March will be online, because we also learned something from a pandemic. But the June one will be in US, in Austin, and then the September one will be in Beijing. So I'm really happy like for this year we could come to China, and then I'm really sure this will be a great opportunity to do something with, for example, GSMA with the GTI together. So yeah, that's all for my presentation. Thank you very much.